welcome. You're listening live to Heart-2-Heart, a program which aims to help you understand and to become your loving self at KMET 1490 AM, ABC Radio News Live. I'm Dr. Mitra Rashidian. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified sexologist in full-time private practice located in beautiful Encino, California. And I'm here along with my very dear friend and colleague and business partner and friend and many things, mentor, to say the least, Dr. Robert Jaffe, who's also a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified hypnotherapist. Welcome, Dr. Jaffe.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Honored to be here with you.
Honor is all mine.
We're a great team.
Yes.
And we have a lot of passion for what we do, and this radio show is one of the things that we do together.
Yes.
And we're here to help people to understand that at their core, they are love energy.
Yes.
And that's what we firmly believe, and that's why we all seek and want and appreciate love. We enjoy loving others, and we enjoy being loved by others. And there's been so many things written about love, so many books, so many movies. It's a topic of so much conversation in the world, has been that way forever. And that's because that's who we are at the core of our being. And
loving creatures.
We're loving creatures. And what gets in the way of that? That's what we talk about on our show. For the most part, it's fear, and fear manifests itself in many ways. And so we're here to talk about what we are afraid of and how to get past that back to our loving, authentic, true selves.
Yes, wonderful. And that's the theme that we usually have, right? So with that, we would like to invite you to please join us by calling us, by sharing this program to others that you believe they can benefit from this program. And, our phone number here live is 951-922-3532. That's 951-922-3532. And if you don't feel comfortable calling us, we can understand. So you're more than welcome to join us and contact us via our private contact information, which you can find them at the, our homepage at KMET website. And also, I think they are running on the screen right now for you to, make a note about those. And we look forward to, hearing from you. This show belongs to you. We thank you for sharing this hour with us, and we know you have many choices, other choices, but you choose to be here, and we are honored. So thank you for that.
Indeed.
So Dr. Jaffe, today we have a special program to offer.
We have a special program. We have a special guest coming up in a little while. Her name is Dr. Carmen Harra. She is a world-renowned intuitive psychologist, and she's written a number of books. The latest one is the one we're going to be discussing today, and the latest one is called "Committed: Finding Love and Loyalty Through the 7 Archetypes."
Sounds very interesting, which is the theme of what we're going to be discussing today, basically.
We're going to be talking about, being committed in a loving relationship. What is that all about?
Exactly. And, I can't wait to see what Dr. Harra has to teach us about this and, to hear from her about what commitment, means to her and how she, basically started to write this book among many others that she has. And I'm very excited to meet with her and to learn from her and to, to see what's going on with commitment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's define commitment, because I always believe that many of us, we have different perspective, different, perceptions and beliefs about an idea, about a concept, right? About something like commitment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So commitment for me and for yourself may have 2 different meanings.
Mm-hmm.
For others, it may have other meanings, right? Because all of us, we define terms and based on how we have experienced them.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Based on how they have been introduced to us, right?
Right.
And then commitment across different life stages, they has, different meanings, right? Commitment at the age of 18 or early 20s is different than commitment than when we reach 40s, than when we reach 50s and 60s, and so on. Right. So, but generally, when we're talking about commitment, we're talking, committing to and of course, here we're talking about relationships for the most part, right?
Correct. Romantic relationships.
And then, so commitment to a relationship means that doing whatever it takes, right?
Right.
Doing whatever it takes to resolve any problem and anything that can harm the relationship. Right. And to be able to maintain that intimacy, maintain that romance, maintain that love that we all, at the end of the day, we are so desiring to have. Right. When two people are committed, they can bypass just about anything.
Yes, that's true. And so one of the elements, and I think one of the most important elements of commitment in a relationship, is the building of trust.
Yes.
Right? And trust is something that takes time to build. I've used the analogy of building a house. You need to have a lot of elements. You need to start with an architect, and then you go on to a builder, and there's a lot of things that go into it. It takes a long time to build a house with a solid foundation, and that will last a long time, just as it takes a long time to build trust in a relationship. And in a committed relationship, that's a primary element. And trust is also something that is fragile.
Yes.
So even when you've built a lot of trust, it's easy to destroy it. Using the same analogy of a house, you can put some dynamite in a house and light the fuse, and in a few seconds, the house is totally destroyed, even though you may have spent a long, long time building it. And so it's the same thing with commitment and trust, that it's easy to break trust. So it's important to it's important to value the trust that you've built up, and important to keep it there. And so we have our guest who's about to join us. We're going to take a quick break. Her name is Dr. Carmen Harra. She's a world-renowned intuitive psychologist and best-selling author. And we're going to talk to Dr. Carmen Harra, and she's going to talk to us about her latest book, which is about commitment.
Exactly.
And so we ask that you stay with us in a brief commercial break, and we will be back with you very shortly with Dr. Harra.
And we are so excited to have her, with us today, and we look forward to our talk right after our commercial break. Please join us.
Do you or someone you know struggle with an addiction? If so, this 1-minute message may be life-saving. Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Jaffe, and I've spent the last 36 years helping thousands become and stay free from addictions. Why? Because I care. Things like food, alcohol, prescription and street drugs, gambling, sex, and even sugar all make us feel good and give us a brief vacation from everyday life. They give us both relief and a high feeling, all of which is temporary. Family strife, loss of relationships, jobs, and especially joy, peace of mind, and love are horrible consequences. I struggled with my own addictions, and, like many others, it was related to early childhood traumas that I had repressed. Change is possible. I can tailor your treatment to match your personality and life situation. Contact me online at drrobertjaffe, Jaffe.net, Psychology Today, or on YouTube. Thanks for listening.
KMET presents the Heart-to-Heart radio show every Thursday afternoon beginning at 4 p.m. Heart-to-Heart grapples with personal issues of addiction recovery, sex therapy, relationships, and trauma. With over 60 years of combined counseling experience, Dr. Mitra and Dr. Robert discuss lifestyles and treatments to help you cope and achieve the inner peace you may be seeking. The Heart to Heart radio show is here for you every Thursday afternoon beginning at 4 o'clock p.m.
Welcome back from our commercial break. This is Heart to Heart program at KMET 1490 AM, ABC News Radio Live. For those of you who are just tuning in, our discussion at this segment is about commitment with our special guest, Dr. Carmen Harra. And I would like to invite you to please join us by calling us at 951-922-3532. And please, let those people that you believe that they can benefit from this program to join us as well by sharing the information. And thank you for sharing your hour with us. And with that, a very warm welcome to Dr. Carmen Harra.
Welcome,
Oh,
Dr.
thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh, great. Let me just tell the audience a little bit about you so they have a sense of what what's going to happen in the next 15, 20 minutes. Dr. Harra is a world-renowned intuitive psychologist. She's also a best-selling author, a radio show host, and a relationship expert. She's been around for many, many years, about 28 years. She's helped thousands and thousands of people rediscover their peace of mind and reclaim their personal power. And her clients are manyfold. She works with everyday people. She also works with eminent politicians as well as
very famous people,
as celebrities, right? And she combines her therapy with numerology, mediumship, and incredible intuition. She's been featured in many publications, New York Times, New York Post, New York Daily News. She's been on many shows, Good Morning America, The View, Good Day New York, others. And she's also the author of many, many bestsellers, like Everyday Karma, Decoding Your Destiny, The 11 Eternal Principles, and others. And the latest book that she has is called Committed, Finding Love and Loyalty Through the 7 Archetypes. And that was just released this year in
June of 2021.
In June of 2021. We want to welcome Dr. Harra. Thank you for joining us. And here we're excited to talk to you.
Dr. Robert, Dr. Mitra, you are extraordinary. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful for giving me the opportunity to speak to all your listeners about my new book. And I know this is an interesting topic about commitment because it's something that everybody wants and we all crave commitment. But the concept of commitment comes from the Latin word committere, which means to give yourself to somebody else. And as you see, the concept of commitment changed through time. So our grandparents, our parents thought in a different way about commitment. The new generation has like a hard time to commit, to give themselves to another person. So in my career, which is kind of similar with yours, I began to understand that personality traits descend from archetypes and that a person's behavior steers from his higher design. So I realized that people come with sets of characteristics. For instance, some people are predisposed to being introverted. Some other are predisposed to be narcissists. But we all realize that we inherit our personality up to a certain degree, but our personality is not formed until we pass through life experiences that solidify who we are. So no one is born a narcissist. No one is born addicted. Nobody is born independent, and nobody is born wounded. But the likelihood for someone to be, as I said, introverted is that he will be, like you know very well, bullied in school or rejected or abandoned. So what I try to do in my book, I try to explain different archetypes that exist. So my book is called Committed, Finding Love and Loyalty through the 7. So I try to define the 7 major archetypes that exist. And I went back to 2,000 years ago to Plato and to Carl Jung, tried to introduce the concept that he took from Plato, from the theory of form, and introduced in psychology the concept of archetypes in human behavior.
And so can you say more about what archetypes actually are?
Yeah, and I made them very simple, so people can identify their own archetype and also identify their partner's archetype, and then in this way they acknowledge whether they are or they're not compatible. So it's a little bit of introspection, like psychological introspection into your own behavior, into your partner's behavior. Now, we always have a dominant archetype, but also have a recessive archetype. But I'll go very shortly through the 7 archetypes, because I try to make it very simple so people can apply, people can identify through their own behavior, paying attention to their own behavior, their own archetype. So the number 1, in my opinion, is the independent, then the workaholic, the narcissist, the free spirit, the hopeless romantic, the wounded warrior, the introvert. So these are the 7 archetypes. I made them very easy, very simple. But in the book, every single one of them is very well defined. I explain, what it means, and I divide archetypes into the me archetype, the we archetype, and which archetype matches which archetype, and where, for instance, there is no compatibility. So if you, for instance, let's say you are a narcissist, can America noticed the 4 years living with a narcissistic president, we had issues in understanding why a narcissist, who's a match for a narcissist, and then we actually realized that a match for a narcissist is another narcissist. So a malignant narcissist will actually match very well another narcissist who's probably more vulnerable. So that explains the marriage between Donald Trump and Melania. I'm just giving you an example. But I go in depth in the book in defining the archetypes. Like, for instance, now America has a wounded warrior, and that's Biden, because he went through such a trauma. And as you guys know very well, if you had such trauma in your life, losing at an early age as a young man, you lose your child, your wife, and then another child of yours dies again. That kind of a pain, those traumas, they don't go away so easily. And you need to heal. And who's going to heal a wounded warrior? And we went from having a narcissist into having a wounded warrior. But that's pretty good, because the wounded warrior will understand your pain, and he will try to help America heal, especially nowadays when we go through the COVID. So how significant it is to understand the human behavior, and how easy and simple it can be to define the human characteristic of an archetype and how they express themselves.
Yes.
So do you believe, Dr. Harra, that these are the secrets to keep a healthy, long life relationship once we know the archetypes?
I think that if you know the archetype, you have many answers to the way you act, to the things that you can change, to the problems that keeps on manifesting, that more exist at the level of your subconscious mind. And, it's an awakening. I think, people used to read more books in the past than they read nowadays. But books are instruments, to help you perceive, understand, shift your perception about your own life, and open up to wisdom and transform, because we all want to change our life for better. And I think the knowledge about archetype that exists at the dawn of time is definitely a powerful tool to make people live more fulfilling lives, adjust to each other, and understand each other way better in time.
So that's what people can expect if they read your book, is that they'll get clearer about what their own archetypes are and who is a good match for them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and they will actually reevaluate some old beliefs that they have about their own relationship and some negative thoughts, and learn how to open up to something new, how to build a positive relationship. What is the key to emotional intimacy? You know what? where is your match with your partner, if there is any. Let's say if you're an independent, who is your match? If you're let's say a wounded warrior, what is your match? Is there an ideal archetype? Yes, of course, there is a well-rounded one. So there are people who know how to create that extraordinary relationship, but they're very few. Majority of us, we go through life and we don't know exactly how to create balance and stability. That's why 50% of marriages end up in a divorce. So I really believe that the book is it's a manual. It's like John Gray endorsed my book. He said this is a manual for people who want to build fulfilling relationships. And that's what I try. I've worked for years to explain people what are the best solutions for relationship problems, how to communicate and not to interrogate, which majority of us would do, how to think and not to act, how to preserve your intimacy and not stay away from influences. So how to meditate and not to be desperate. So there are a lot of tools in this book, but I think the key point of the book is actually defining the concept of archetypes. So bringing something that exists in ancient teaching, but bringing it in a modern form and in a simple way that everybody reading it can apply it into their own life and benefit from it.
I see. So do you think that knowing your own archetype and the archetype of your partner helps you to communicate in a different way?
Absolutely. It shifts the way you communicate. It immediately opens a door in your mind, like saying, so these are the weaknesses of my partner's archetype. This is what I need to pay attention. It reevaluates the whole idea of how you participate in your love life. And, talking about archetype, for instance, the narcissist needs to learn to sacrifice because the narcissist is all about himself. The independent, who is also another individual, another archetype that is detached from the rest of the world, he needs to learn to attach to a relationship. The workaholic, we see so many people workaholic, they need to learn to prioritize what really matters. The wounded warrior that I gave you an example about, our president who went through a trauma, he needs to heal. And a free spirit, a lot of free spirits in this world right now, they need to ground in their purpose. And hopeless romantic, there are people in love with love, they need to be more realistic. And the last one, the introvert needs to open up to what? To the concept of trust, to the possibility of being with somebody. So that's why we live in a world where a lot of people have such a hard time to involve, to attach. And what do they have time with? With commitment. They have a hard time committing to each other. And that's why we see so many relationships failing. Like we look at Kim Kardashian and Kenya West, and we question what really happened there, because actually, Kim and Kenya, they both narcissistic people in a way because they're on the top of the pyramid, but Kenya is also wounded because he lost his mother, and he's on the other hand, he allowed Kim to be in front of the camera and become even more famous than him. So the narcissist sometimes can be committed to another narcissist up to a certain degree and for at least for a period of time. And we see all these examples playing out in celebrities' life, in the people that we know, the famous people. And it's interesting to apply the concept to yourself and to the world around. And you definitely in time benefit from these simple elements that exist in the field of psychology, and to the concept of defining your characteristics, your traits, your weaknesses. So knowing who you are, best psychologically, is definitely going to help you a lot through life and through your love life. Mm-hmm.
Would you say? Oh, go ahead.
Good. Well, I was wondering, Dr. Harra, if somebody realizes what kind of an archetype they are or they have, and then they decide to change that, would that be possible?
It's very possible to change your archetype, because in life you can change everything. You just
Right.
need awareness. If you're aware you're an addict, you can change. If you're aware you're an alcoholic, you know better than anybody. You know, the moment you wake up and say, I'm an alcoholic, then you have a chance to heal. The moment you say, well, I'm a narcissist, okay, I can change that. You know, so I can work on me being centered on myself, and I can look at the world around and change my perception about the way I behave, you know. So things, they're not going to change unless there's no awareness. So that's why knowledge is power, because when you bring knowledge to the world and people wake up into realizing that they're doing something wrong, you know, people after many years of acting wrong in a marriage, when they wake up and realize something, they have that aha moment and say, okay, if I shift that, if I change that, then my marriage will finally work, and I'm going to end up by speaking the same language with my partner. So it is possible. Change is always there. Change is possible if you build your awareness. And the book tries to build people's awareness about who they are, how they express themselves, who did they got involved with.
Right. So basically, you know, it definitely, you know, connects to my philosophy of anybody who wants to have and to gain or to regain their personal power. The key is to establish awareness first about themselves, and then taking responsibility for what doesn't work for them and change that.
Mm-hmm.
This is so beautifully said. You said it magnificently well. That's exactly it. You know, if you want to access your inner power, you certainly can, you know, and then you can be on the top of the world the next day. It's as simple as that, you know.
Yes.
Would you say that there are, of the 7 archetypes, that there are any that are more predisposed to having an intimate relationship, and those which are more challenged?
Absolutely. So the one that that resist relationships, the independent has a very hard time, you know, allowing somebody in his life. So that's a major problem for the independent. Another one that wants to be, you know, have the both worlds is the workaholic. The workaholic wants to build his career is more significant, but wants to also have a beautiful partner in his life, up to the point in which if the partner interferes in his work, then he will let go of the partner. The one that, you know, crosses the boundary for empowerment to entitlement is actually the narcissist. So this is the most difficult one, because he has so little humility, and he has that heightened ego and selfish inclination that preclude him from bonding with somebody else. So the narcissist has more trouble paying enough attention to a partner or giving a partner what the partner needs. He just focuses on himself. And he's so hard to change. And we've witnessed this for years in America, when somebody is hard to change because he will continue to say what he originally said, even if it's a lie. So we're not talking politics. We're just talking the narcissist has a hard time committing to a relationship. And if he's in a position of power, then God help us. But I tell you, narcissists can commit at some point if they wake up to what they're doing wrong. You know, so there's, like, you know, Dr. Mitra says, you know, there's change possible in everyone. So I just pray God, and people like this, if they get in position of power, they wake up, you know, they have that shift in their consciousness, you know, and tap into the collectiveness of the planet Earth, and they said, okay, I want to help the world, and I want to be a good person. I will listen to the voice of the world, you know, and not of my own inner voice. So
many of these, Dr. Harra, is subconscious, and but the key is that as soon as we feel the discomfort, we need to ask ourselves why the discomfort exists among among this relationship, and then to go after that. And that's where the commitment comes in. You know, if you're committed to it, to maintain the relationship, so that means that, you know, we kind of become curious to get to know each other more, and therefore to connect that way more, and also learn about ourselves within that relationship, to see what kind of, you know, how our archetypes actually can connect, and what needs to be changed. So that's the beauty of commitment.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of commitment, and always the partner is the reflection of your inner self. You know, a partner comes into your life to reflect your emotion, your weaknesses, your problems. It's like a mirror. And you have to pay attention to that mirror. What is your partner reflecting back to you? And acknowledge that and have the willingness to change and go through the challenge. That's very significant. But as you know, Dr. Robert was asking me, are some of the archetypes more reluctant to change? Yes, they are. And probably the most reluctant is the independent and the narcissist, and probably the free spirit who's afraid of not being free. And so he's not going to go through the challenge so easily. But the wounded warrior, the hopeless romantic, they adjust way easier to the transformation. And for that reason, you see long marriages for people who are hopeless romantic, wounded warrior, you know. Even the introvert has some time. If he opens up to the trust, he can last a long time in a relationship.
Right.
But it's fascinating to define the life of celebrities through this archetype.
Hello?
What did you say? I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said I see that about the introvert, about the trust.
Right. Yeah, the introvert has a lot of issues trusting. But as I said, this all comes, like you said, all comes from somewhere, because no one is born an introvert. Nobody is born necessarily a narcissist. Like nobody is born an addict, you know, and then we become, you know, you're not born an alcoholic, you know, but then you become. So the question is, what triggered? What was the element in your life? What kind of emotion? What kind of a dominant emotion triggers your issues? So it's fascinating. You can go deeper into analyzing all of this. Like that means another book.
Exactly.
Well, we're coming to the end of this segment, but can you leave us perhaps with any go-to message about lifelong commitment? Is there anything that you can leave with the audience about that?
Well, I want people to think that the notion of commitment should match your partner's notion of commitment. So you should be with somebody whose definition of commitment actually matches yours. So that's key. So, and in the commitment, the role that plays, the number one role in a commitment is emotional intimacy, like growing together emotionally at the soul level. You know, it's not only, you know, the physical intimacy. We're not only talking about the sex life. We're talking about growing together, getting to know each other, because then a marriage gets better. Not only survives the test of time, but you see people after 40, 60 years loving each other more. I'm always impressing all the people, you know, hugging each other with such passion and so love, like their love is bigger than ever, bigger than them, bigger than life. So I think that our goal should be to dream of that, to accomplish that, and make commitment such a beautiful thing of life, and make our relationship be as fulfilled as possible. That's what my book intends to do for people, and that's what people should dream of and make the dream a reality.
Well, that's a wonderful way to leave things, and would that all of us can do that.
Well, I think, you know, if, you know, also therapy can help many of the couples that, you know, they want to make a commitment, but they just don't know how.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Dr. Harra, for your words of wisdom. Dr. Harra's book is Committed, Finding Love and Loyalty Through the 7 Archetypes, just released this last June. We thank you so much for your words of wisdom and for your time. And I
have one last question from Dr. Harra. Dr. Harra, for those who would like to purchase your book, where should they go? How do they do that?
They can find the book in every bookstore. The book is everywhere. Of course, everybody goes at Amazon, but the book is absolutely everywhere. And Dr. Robert and Dr. Mitra, I want to thank you for your amazing work to help the world get better and get healed. You are extraordinary people, amazing doctors. You have all my gratitude, all my respect, and all my love from here, from Miami, Florida, and from my heart.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time and for your words of wisdom, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Harra.
I thank you. I thank both of you. You're extraordinary people.
Anybody who would like to know more about Dr. Harra, her information, her website, her book information, they're all located on our library page at KMET. So the information is going to be there for the next month and throughout the next month. And for those of you who wish to know more about her, you can access that page and follow the information.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break. Please stay with us, and we will be back in a short while. Thank you.
KMET presents the Heart-to-Heart radio show every Thursday afternoon beginning at 4 p.m. Heart-to-Heart grapples with personal issues of addiction recovery, sex therapy, relationships, and trauma. With over 60 years of combined counseling experience, Dr. Mitra and Dr. Robert discuss lifestyles and treatments to help you cope and achieve the inner peace you may be seeking. The Heart-to-Heart radio show is here for you every Thursday afternoon beginning at 4 o'clock p.m.
Is your sexual romantic relationship suffering because you feel uncomfortable communicating what is working or not working for you? Hi, I'm Dr. Mitra Rashidian, a licensed psychotherapist and certified sexologist with more than 20 years of research and practice in the area of human sexuality and relationships. I have helped hundreds of couples to achieve the pleasure of an enhanced sexual connection. David and Len had been married 30 years and for the past 10 years did not have any sex. John developed premature ejaculation while Veronica experienced pain during sex. Kevin and Linda discovered that both of them had been cheating on each other for the last several months. Every couple is unique, and I love the challenge of discovering the key to resolving your special situation. Please share your story with me. Visit me, Dr. Mitra Rashidian, on YouTube and Psychology Today for my contact information. That's psychologytoday.com. Thank you. Welcome back to the commercial break. Dr. Mitra and Dr. Robert here at Heart-to-Heart program at KMET 1490 AM ABC News Radio Live. We just had a wonderful interview with our special guest today, Dr. Carmen Harra, where she talked about commitment and her new book that is Committed, Finding Love and Loyalty through the 7 Archetypes. This book was just released, in 2021, June of 2021.
Hot off the press.
Yes, and we are so pleased, to have, for her to be available to us today. We had a wonderful talk, I really encourage you to go back to the program and to listen to her words. And she offered so many amazing insight about the archetypes and how learning our own archetypes actually can help us to stay with a match committed relationship, to be able to communicate far more safe and trust each other, and to be able to build that romantic, loving, intimate relationship that we all want all the time. Wouldn't that be something?
That would be something.
To have that. And it's just, I really enjoyed our talk. And her website, if you wish to visit her website, is www.carmenharra, that's CARMEN, Harra, HARRA.com. And we thank you, Dr. Harra, for joining us today, and we look forward to having you, in our future shows, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So let's just follow up with that. So what do you think, Dr. Jaffe, about the archetype and how she focused a lot on narcissism and the introvert. And
yeah, she mentioned briefly all of the archetypes, the 7 that, and she said that she goes into them a lot more in depth in her book, and I think that they can be very helpful. It's another way of finding out information about ourselves. And what we talked about, and what Dr. Harra said, which we totally agree with, is that it's all about awareness.
Right.
And awareness means that we need to be more committed to the truth than we are to being right.
Exactly. And that's so very well, said. To be aware is not just to be aware of, what I want or, what works for me. It's also to be aware of what I'm bringing to the table that is not working.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Where do I need to improve? Where do I need to have personal growth?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I need more information and more help,
Mm-hmm.
So that I can understand myself? Because it is that my selfhood that comes into the relationship, right? That, kind of basically may be a contributing factor, not maybe, actually, it is a contributing factor. What I bring to the table and what my partner brings to the table, those are the, when they clash with each other, that's where, the problem happens, right?
Yeah.
If we are not aware of how we're contributing to that. And that's when, those couples, they come into our therapy session and they just put finger at each other. You did it, so we see how the fighting and argument continues. But if we are open to be aware about everything about us, right,
Mm-hmm.
take responsibility for what needs to be changed, I think that's where the commitment starts.
And so the antithesis of that is I'm okay and you're not.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I don't need anything to be fixed about me.
Yeah. I'm okay and you're not.
It's all her or it's all him.
And if there is something wrong with me, it's very minor in comparison to what's wrong with you.
Or you caused it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to be in a real partnership with somebody when you're busy defending yourself and telling you and your partner that you're right and that they are wrong.
Exactly.
Even if you don't say that they're wrong, if you keep saying that it's your way and your way is the right way or the best way, you're implying to the other person that you are more important than the other person.
Right. And, exactly. So that's just that last point that you made, brought me to the narcissism here. When somebody has the archetype of being a narcissistic person, right? How would this individual even become aware that, that how their archetype is actually the problem here? Because somebody like that, believe that everything's right about them and everything belongs to them and the whole world needs to center around them. How would somebody like that, become, gets to the point of gaining the awareness that I need to change?
Yeah, and that's when I ask the question, what is it? What is? How can people look at the truth of themselves rather than wanting to just see that they don't have anything wrong with them?
Right.
That is, and that's something that we as psychotherapists have a hard time dealing with, because people, when they come in, if they don't believe that there's anything wrong with them and they're coming in because they think that the partner or the parent or the child is acting in a wrong way, and they don't take any responsibility for it, then it becomes very, very difficult to give them feedback which is helpful.
Yeah, well, they come in as the victim. They say, the whole world is against me. Right. Basically,
Yes.
I mean, but when we say the whole world, literally speaking, people around them, they're against them, and then they're not at a place where they can believe that they are contributing to a given situation, and they blame everybody and everything in their life, and that victim role, they stay in it, and it's such a hard place for them to kind of get out of it. And it's a hurtful place too for them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a hurtful place. It's a alone place. It's a place where they can't trust anybody, right? That victim perspective that people gain and they stay with that. It's such a, I would say lonely. Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
lonely.
it's a lonely place. But I think that the narcissist personality is the most difficult to treat, um, because usually they have such a low ability to empathize. Because to me, the narcissist is somebody who is so well defended against anything negative being thought or said about them that it's sort of like a wall that you can't penetrate, because anything that you say that is suggested to them that they are imperfect, it comes up against that wall, which is a belief that if they admit anything, any vulnerability, they're going to be destroyed.
Yes.
That's really at the bottom of it. So when you're around people who have that belief, giving them any kind of feedback, even if you're trying to do it in a kind way, is seen as a massive attack on their personhood.
Exactly. Yes.
And it's very tough on the people around them, because they realize that anything that they say that isn't, yes, you're absolutely right, and the other person is absolutely wrong, anything that is other than that kind of statement is going to be perceived by that narcissistic personality as an attack on them, and then they are going to direct their rage onto you.
Yes.
And people then become intimidated and frightened to really say their truth.
Exactly. So what do you think, is the best thing to say to somebody with narcissistic personality, and that's their archetype, and they're not going to be able to be open to any kind of suggestions, to be open that there might be different things that they don't know about themselves, so they're not open to be aware, basically.
Right.
And then they believe that things have been done to them, and then they have the expectation of more things needs to be done for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and they will never want to take responsibility for the harm that they bring to the relationship.
Right. Or in the case of government, the harm that they were doing to whomever they're serving.
To whomever they're serving, yes.
Right.
Because that's a much larger relationship.
That's a much larger relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Relationship is relationship.
Right. So and what I was saying is, as psychotherapists, it's very, very tough for us to know how to treat that person, because usually, number one, they're not coming in to be healed because they don't recognize that there's anything wrong to be healed. So if they do come in, it's more what you said, as they're being victimized by everyone, and what they're looking for is a validation that they are right.
Right.
And if you start to suggest anything differently, you become one of the many who's attacking them.
Right.
So it's very, very tough. Now, is it impossible? I'm not going to say it's impossible, because I don't believe in that word. I think it's unlikely, unless the person is really is really in some sort of emotional pain.
Right.
That they say to themselves, nothing I've tried is working, and I'm willing to try anything.
Right. So I guess that's the key point. That's the what we call it, crack in the wall for us to go in and gain the trust.
Right.
And then once we establish that trust, then things become easier. Not without challenge, but becomes easier.
It becomes, I would say, possible.
Right.
It becomes. Yeah, because gaining the trust of somebody who's narcissistically involved means that you are not part of the world who wants to hurt them at the sign of any vulnerability.
Exactly.
And for them to really get to know and accept that is a long, long road.
Exactly. And with that, I believe that I heard the signal that our program is over, or maybe I was wrong.
Okay, we
All
just
right,
got
so
we just got
right.
a
So
reprieve for 2 minutes.
yeah, I like to so open the discussion to introverts and trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we know one of the reasons that people become introvert is profound, lack of trust, or a degree of lack of trust. Right.
Yeah. So I think that we are all born with a propensity for different things within our personality. And I think that introversion, extroversion is one of the things that we're born with. Just as many of us are born with a propensity toward being more athletic, or propensity for being more artistic, or propensity for being more what I'm trying to think, more with more political,
right,
or apolitical. I think we all have these tendencies, and I think that what you and I have studied is about how we're impacted by both our culture and our upbringing.
Exactly. Yes.
And that can add to or detract from those propensity.
Exactly.
And so that's what I think. I don't think that we're born and because we have a propensity to be more introverted, that we end up as total introverts.
No, I mean, it's something that, like Dr. Harra also mentioned, and we have said that as well. We usually open our talk by saying that we are born into the world as our loving, authentic, true self,
mm-hmm.
which we are happy, joyous, curious, creative, and all of that, and then life happens. Right, we say that. So this is such a beautiful program and interview, and the talk about this is significantly long, and like Dr. Harra said, we need maybe not only the second book but also the third and the fourth and so on books, so that we can cover all the areas. Therefore, we would like to invite you to please join us next week, and we will continue with these subjects, as we go on. We develop more about it, and we will talk more. And I look forward to seeing you next week with Dr. Robert, Jaffe, and myself. And we thank you for sharing your hour with us. And don't forget to contact us and to share this program with those that you believe they can benefit from it. And until next week at 4 p.m., don't forget that all you need is love.
All you need is love.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. See you next week.